It's the grandson of Right Thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light, little flock. Hope you all are doing well. And it's a brisk night. Yahusha said something one time, and a lot of the people that heard it were offended by it and turned away from listening to Yahusha. Some of those people who turned away were even his own disciples. Like I said, they got offended at something that he said to them. And before we get into what he said that offended them, let's just take a moment to accept the fact that people were offended. They were offended at what Yahusha had said and stopped listening to him altogether because of it. So in other words, they deemed that what he had said was foolishness, nonsense, crazy, useless, vain. You see that? So then take that into consideration when you look at the world today and you look at all the people that claim Yahusha, all the people that say that they follow him, say that they are his sheep. Think about them when you consider what we're going to talk about today. That some of his very disciples, in other words, some of the branches, they got offended. And what was it? It was when he said, I am the bread that came down from heaven. A man must eat of me and drink my blood. You see that? They got offended when they heard that. Hold on, this man, how he gonna give us his flesh to eat? That's what they said. And his blood to drink. This dude talking crazy. And some of his own followers thought that was crazy when he said that too. That's what I want you to pay attention to, little flock. I'm not ministering to people that don't know nothing. I'm ministering to those that say they are branches. That's who I'm talking to. It's just like Yahusha when he said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. The people that claim that they know God. Same thing I'm doing right now with Yahusha. Can't you see it? Isn't it obvious to see? The same thing Yahusha did with his father is the same thing I'm doing with Yahusha as the grandson. Okay, you say you know my father, huh? You don't know him. I'm going to prove to you that you don't. Look how you get offended when he says this thing right here. See? Same thing Yahusha said. Y'all think y'all know my father, but you are of your father, who's a deceiver. I'm not deceiving you by what I'm saying. I'm actually telling you the truth. But since you hear my words with flesh ears, then you can't profit. You see that? You can't actually get no benefit from it. And why? Because he said the flesh profiteth nothing. So I want y'all all to hear that. How much do the flesh profit? I just want to make sure y'all can do good math. Because nothing means nothing to me. Nothing don't mean something. It mean nothing. And he said nothing. So then the flesh don't profit nothing. But look at how many people in the world think that it does profit. Oh, if I eat like this, then I'll profit. If I do like this, then I'll profit. If I do this physically with my body, then I'll profit. The flesh profits nothing. It's the spirit that quickeneth. There's nothing you can do fleshly that will quickeneth you. Do you know what the word quicken means? It means to give life to. So that man God had made, he just laid on the ground. He didn't do anything until Abba breathed into him the breath of life. Spirit quickened. You see? Just like Yahusha came, the second Adam, a quickening spirit. The first Adam was earthy. But the second Adam came a quickening spirit, life-giving spirit. So if you hear his words with a flesh mind, then you won't profit because the flesh mind is death. It turns away from life. Isn't that what death does? Life and death are opposites. That's why Yahushua said, my God is the God of the living, not the God of the dead. See that there? There are many idols. Things wherein there is no profit. That's dead, isn't it? But he says the spirit is what quickeneth. So can you hear the spirit when a man's talking to you? Now, can you hear the flesh when a man's talking to you? You would say, yes, I can. Okay, well then describe it to me. Describe to me how the flesh sounds. It's obvious, isn't it? What's the fleshly part of when a man's talking? Now, what's the spiritual part of when a man's talking? Man says something. It sounds one way, but means another thing. Like eating my body and drinking my blood. It sounds like I want you to do one thing, but I mean to do this actually. You see what I'm saying to you? So the spirit is what it means. But the flesh is how it sounds. That's why he told Moses to put his hand in his garment, and he pulled it out and it was leprous as snow. See? And he told him to put it back in and it became part like his normal flesh. What does that mean, grandson? I've broken it down here at the School of Marvelous Light before, but I'll do it again for you. It means you appear unclean to a person's eyes, fleshly, but spiritually, you are clean. What did Yahushua say? You are now clean from the word that I have spoken unto you. See? You see? So the spirit, what he means is the spirit of the word. Well, the same thing with those who preach the word. Can you hear what they mean by what they have said? Because if you can't, then you can't profit from what they've said. So that's why I always tell people, when people come to me, and I've had several, so I'm going to tell you little flocks that you know. People come to me, usually most of the time, Israelites, they come and they say, what's the Father's name and what's his Son's name? Of course, that's written in the book of Psalms, if you can tell. You see, and a lot of times they expect you to say the Father's name and the Son's name in Hebrew. And this is the way they say it. They usually say Yahweh and Yahushai. So they expect you to say that when they ask you that question. Well, I don't say that when they ask me that question because that doesn't profit somebody who doesn't know what that means. And there are many people who don't know what Yahweh and Yahushai mean. So when somebody asks me, I just tell them what it means. What's the Father's name? What's the Son's name? I am salvation, I am. That's the Father and the Son's name. Now, isn't it? Now, when you start telling me all those sounds, and all of this extra sounds you're going to try to make with your mouth, see, fleshly, that doesn't profit, I'm going to say, okay, so you said Yahweh is the name. So I start saying Yahweh, 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 not knowing what it means. So how can it profit me if I don't know the spirit of it? So can I profit if somebody says, I am salvation? Don't take I am, that name, in vain. Does that profit you? Yes, it does, because now you know what it means. Instead of, oh, I said Yahweh and something, I took his name in vain. And then you go right along saying, but I'm sick, I'm dumb, I'm stupid. But I didn't say Yahweh was. Yeah, you did when you said I am. But you can't profit, see, because you ain't spiritually minded, you're carnal minded, you got carnal ears, you can't hear. You got to have ears to hear, he said. So do the ears to hear have to do with what's being said or it has to do with what's being heard? Ears hear stuff, people. But see, what do people do? They want people to teach to them in a way that they like the way it sounds. Read the Bible and see if you don't see Israelites saying that. Preach to us smooth things. Things wherein there is no profit. See? Smooth things, easy to be received. Tell us that instead. Well, why do you want me to change the sound of it so it can make me feel different? Well, I'm not here to preach to make you feel a certain type of way. Matter of fact, Abba told me not to. He said, lift up thy voice like a trumpet and spare not. Trumpets are loud. Trumpets are blaring. Trumpets are noticeable in a crowd. If one person pulls a trumpet out and starts blowing it, you're going to hear it. It's going to be obvious. Well, that's how your preaching should be. It should be obvious when someone hears it. Whoa, it catches their attention. Wow. Why? Because you've lifted up your voice like a trumpet sound. That's how you should sound. Noticeable, in other words. It doesn't mean exactly like a trumpet. It means noticeable because you got to have the spirit of the word. A distinct sound. Why do you think army blows a trumpet for war? Before the war ensues, the trumpet blows. It's because it's noticeable. It's obvious. That's the point. So he wants you to be the same way with your preaching. Obvious. You see what I mean? That you're different, that you're standing out, that you're calling to a unique type of people. It should be obvious that you are. Well, it's obvious that I am because I speak in a way where carnal-minded people will say, he can't be righteous because look at how he talks. And over-righteous people says, well, he can't be righteous because look at how he talks. You see? You see? And then if somebody says, well, you can't be righteous, man, because they said, look at how you talk, I'll just refer them to Yahusha there. They said he talked as a madman. Why listen? Why hear ye him? Well, because Abba said, hear ye him, didn't he? Did Abba say, hear ye him, or did he not say, hear ye him? He did. So then why would I listen to you say, why hear ye him? He's mad. No, you just can't understand what he means. So you're mad because you can't understand what he means. Why would he be mad that you can't understand him? You're just not of my sheep. That's what he said. You're not. What did John say? He said, man, who warned you wicked to flee of the wrath to come? Y'all coming to hear the word. Who warned you? Look at how they be talking. You see? You're not of the world. You shouldn't be like the world. You should sound different and look different. The world preachers smooth things to your feelings to make you feel good. They stir up your emotions and appeal to your emotions and your feelings. But he said, spare not. So when they say preach smooth things, they're asking me to spare. Well, he told me not to, so then I won't. So then they would consider me a rebellious, mean person if I don't listen to them, won't they? Yeah, they would. You see? Same thing when they said about Yahusha then. They called him Beelzebub, what should they call you? You know, how is a man speaking where people would call him the devil? How must he have been speaking to them if that's what they said? He's a devil. He's the prince of devils, they said. How did that go together? Can you tell me? Y'all see that there? So, think about it today. Think about how they got offended because they couldn't understand. And think about how when the truth comes out today, most people just can't understand it because they hear it on the surface. Oh, he said that. So then he means this. That's what he's saying. No, that's actually not what he's saying. That's just what you think he's saying. But you can't hear him. So then whose fault is that? You see? Remember when Yahusha, what did he say? What did Yahusha say? He said, are you offended? Look at that, guys. It says when he perceived within himself. So he knew that they were offended by what he said. He knew it. And that's what I'm telling you guys about today when you're in the truth. You know you're acting in a way that people can't understand. You know it. And that's the point, you see? Because you're weeding out all of the fleshly minded tares. That's what you're doing. Like I told you, a dirty person would say, that guy's wicked. So he's dirty and filthy like me. And I ain't no God-fearing person, so he must not be. And then the over-righteous person says, this dude's filthy. Look at him, he has a devil. We don't want either one. That's the point. And how do I know that we don't want either one of those people, over-righteous or over-wicked? Read the called out ones. Ecclesiastes. That word means called out. That's why I'm saying that. So there's a group of called out people in the world that are walking on a thin line between the two. You see, like Yahushua was crucified between the two. Same thing. They're walking the thin line between the over righteous and over wicked people of the earth. You see? That's why Christ said, Son of Man didn't come to call the righteous, but the sinner to repentance. You see? Over righteous don't want to hear nothing about this. He can't. He's too busy critiquing the sound of it and the look of it. Read Yahushua and read how they critiqued him about those very things. Look at what he's doing. Look at how he sounds. But they can't convince him of sin, no matter how they try to. You see? And my point is, why are y'all trying to spend all your time to convince him of sin? Because you'd rather be a judge of the law than a doer of it. That's why. You'd rather judge whether somebody's keeping God's commandments rather than doing God's commandments. But what does Ecclesiastes tell us? Fear God and keep his commands. For this is the whole duty of man. See how man then flipped his way, thinking he's a judge when he's a doer? That's why he said, judge righteous judgment. And if you do judge righteous judgment, then your judgment won't come back to bite you in it later on. You see? That's why the merciful receive mercy. Ain't that what it say? You see? The gracious receive grace. That's the way it goes. It don't go no other way. You hear that today, little flock? So it's snowing, y'all. It wasn't when I came out here, but it is now. But it's all good. We're going to keep it moving. So y'all be blessed today, little flock. And don't be offended by the small things today and the things that don't matter. When somebody can't see you and somebody can't hear you. Because it also works with vision. If somebody can't see the intention of your hearts when you make a move, then they'll just perceive that what you're doing is wrong or evil or selfish or something else. You see? Because they can't judge righteous judgment. Silwan Misrael.